Welcome back everyone for the second part of this episode. I hope you're having a good day and we will get back into the episode right away. But don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode. Now, let's continue where we left off. Now we have the images instead of our buttons. And now we need to make them clickable, mouse over and all of that. So let's get into that. And since we're not using buttons the normal way, like here all of this is already pre-coded and fixed, we need to make some custom adjustments for these. And we do it simply by going into our button bar class here and say, and we can put some comments here. We need one for mouse over, mouse pressed. And we need the image. We're gonna keep the image at the as the background. So we say image or sprite rather. And for mouse over, we say if button dot get is, we don't have that either. We need to add more code to the my button. And we want to check if the mouse is over or if the mouse is pressed. So we need two getters for that. We need a public boolean, and you don't say get mouse over, you say is mouse over for boolean check. And return mouse over. And we do the same for public boolean is mouse press. Then return mouse press. Good. We can comment that out because we need to do more code before this. And we have no way of setting them to pressed or over. We have the code, we do access these brackets or these methods. So we start out with mouse moved, and if we're not inside the menu, we check for the loop of the button. So we say for my button B, and we say tile buttons. If some of them are true, or if it's true, we say b.set mouse over true, and then we call return. Because we know we're inside one button, we don't need to check any other button, so we say return out of this method. And we can actually copy this for pressed. If you're not in there, we say mouse set mouse pressed true and return. But we also need to reset it, so we say and no else here, we just need to reset it no matter what, false. First we set in mouse over, false for menu, and then for all the buttons, then we check for the menu, and then we check for the array. If else, why are you red? Oh. So now we have mouse over and mouse pressed. Let's see if they work. I actually don't, we can't see if it works because we need to add some sort of visual. So in the mouse over, we simply say is mouse over. Then we do something. What do we do? Ideal would to be have some sort of overlay, but that would take too long. But we could have a basic border. We don't have any borders yet. So we say g.set color, let's go with black. g.drawRect for our border, b.x, b.y, b.width, b.height. So it's the same, and we have a color black. And if we have the mouse over, we change it to white. And then we need to put this in front actually. If it's inside, we say g.set color, color.white. Else we set the color to black. So let's clean that up a little bit. Mouse over, we have the border. We only changed the color for mouse over. So let's check. Oops, what's going on here? Of course it looks funky. We never checked if it was true. We just said, if it's not inside here, we simply say it's true. But we need to check if b.getBounce.contains. Sometimes you forget the most simplest things. Then we say set it to true. So now we can save it and run it again. Now at least that should work. Yeah, that looks much better. Now let's do pressed as well, because there's no way for us to see that we're pressing. So let's do pressed. And to do pressed, we need to make sure we do the same check here, so we don't have the same problem. GetBounce. Does it contain this? If it do, then we say mouse is pressed. But we need a way of resetting it all. But we don't do it with the pressed, we do it release. So we say for my button B tile buttons. Don't need that. We just say b.reset booleans. Boom, done. And if we are pressing the mouse, we might want something to show. And thus far we used bigger borders for it. So let's continue the same path. We're gonna add 2 more borders. 1, -2, and -2. And then we say, let's copy that. And then we say +2, +2, -4, -4. All right. And we need to check if b.mouse pressed. Otherwise, it's always gonna show. We actually don't need that. It looks better without. Mouse over. Okay, that's weird. And let's try it now. If we can press the buttons. That looks perfect. Oops. Mouse over, pressed, released, mouse move. Yeah, it's working. Perfect. Now when we got this part working, we also want something to happen. We want to do something with this. Because the end goal is to click one of these tiles and be able to drag and change the terrain in front of us. So something should happen when we click these buttons. So let's implement that. First, in our button bar, we need a private. We can use a tile. Selected tile. We're not going to initialize it yet, but down at mouse clicked in our button bar. Else, let's check a loop here for my button. Oops, B, and we do have tile buttons. All right, so if b.getBounce.contains xy, we do something, we say selected tile equals playing dot get tile manager dot get tile. We don't have get tile, that's true. So in our, because we have an array with tiles, we want to access a specific tile, but we don't have that function. So we say public tile get tile, and we need an int ID, and here we say return tiles.get, and using the ID as the index. Perfect. And now in here we can say tile manager dot get tile, and we use the button to get the ID, they should line up, or they should match. So now we have a selected tile, and of course return, we don't need to be in there any longer. And in our draw button, we say draw selected tile. And we also create that method. So, and since it's not initialized to begin with, we say if, we're gonna change this up, but selected tile is not equal to null, meaning it's not null, it's been initialized. We say g.draw image tile, no, selected tile.get sprite. Where do we want to draw it? We want to draw it at the right corner, right side. 640 is the end, so 550, y equals 670, width 50, 50, and null. That should work, perfect. So let's see if this works. Might get some errors, but we'll see. If I click this, we should have a grass tile on the right side. And if I click here, we should have a water. Alright, but let's put them in the same height as the other buttons, which is 650 and that was 670. Let's run it again and see the difference. Alright, that looks better. But let's add some borders and stuff. G.draw rect. 550, 650, 50, 50. And we're gonna set G.set color, color.black. I think that's good. Looks a little bit better. Alright, so now we know what our selected tile is. So we have our selected tile working and looking good. Now we want to pass it into our playing, so when we move around here, we can change the tiles in here. So let's do that. Let's go in our playing method here and add a selected tile as well. And in our render, we say draw selected tile. But we're not going to draw it the same. We want to draw it where our mouse is. We do the same check if selected tile is not equal to null. Then we draw it and say g.drawRect. Nope, draw image. We need an x, y, width, and height. To get the image, we do the same. Selected tile.getSprite. But to get the x and y, we're going to use 32, because the tiles in the game is 32. And then we need x and y, and we're going to store that up here, int mouse x, mouse y. And we get that from our mouse moved. So if our mouse is above, above or less than 640, we say mouse x equals x, mouse y equals y. So we're going to draw it wherever our mouse is. So we need to change that in the draw selection, mouse x, mouse y. Anything else? Yes, we need to be able to set it. So it's a public void set selected tile. This dot selected tile equals tile. And in here our button bar, when we do get the selected tile from clicking, then we also call playing dot set selected tile, yeah, because we already gave, yeah, that's gonna work. Now it should work. Let's see. I'm gonna get the water, and we have it. Wherever our mouse is, let's make one more check, because now it looks better. If I go down here, we're still drawing it, even though, so we're just gonna check one more check. In our playing, where we have our render method, draw selected tile, and we say and draw select. We add a private boolean draw select. Start with false, but actually default is false. And set selected tile draw select equals true. And the way we say it's false is whenever we go in our here. If we are below 6 or more than 640 in Y, we say false, else we say it's true. Let's see if that does anything. So let's get this one. And as soon as we go below, it disappears, comes back up. All right, that looks good. All we need to change now is that whenever we move around, we want the tile we have, a selected tile, to snap into position so we can see what tile we would be changing. And that's not very difficult to change. We simply go in our, where do we have draw select? We can change it here, nope, that's button bar, playing I mean. And that we can do in our draw select, but that's not really good. So I want to make it in here, in our mouse move, where we get the very coordinates themselves. So we say x divided by 32. Now to get the tile coordinate where we are, but we also want to times equals 32. Maybe mouse x, there we go. Y, there we go. Mouse y times equals 32. First we divide it so we get the clean coordinate where we are. By doing it like this, actually let's make it a little bit cleaner. We don't need 4 lines, we can simply say so. This just ensures that we snap it in position. And we only care if the values are divisible by 32. So let's see the difference. Before they moved around smoothly, now they should snap. And they do. Now that's much better. So now we see exactly where we would be able to change the tiles. All that's left to do now is so that whenever we click on a tile, we want to change it to the selected tile. And the way we do that is by going in here in our playing, because we have the integer array, so we need to change this level array. And let's see, mouse moved, mouse pressed, mouse clicked. If mouse clicked and we are, so in this bracket we say, if we click, then we want to change tile. Mouse X, mouse Y. And we also want, nope, this is going to be good enough. Tile, no, X, I don't know why it says so, and Y. First we say int tile x equals x divided by 32, so we get the coordinates or the index for that tile in the level array. And then we say int tile y equals y divided by 32 as well. So now we have the coordinates or the index that we need to use. Level tile y tile x equals selected tile, but we need the ID because it's an integer array. So that should work. So if we go up here and start it and try it out, let's just put a water in the middle. How about that? It works. Not too much code, but it's still effective. And there's no way of saving this, but that will come in the next episode. But we have a little bit further to go, so let's make it so when we drag the mouse, we change it all. Let's do that. And that won't be too much more difficult. Instead of using mouse clicked, we go mouse pressed and do the same check here. Else, we say change tile. Let's just copy this. In the same spot. Boom. Not pressed. Oh, right. That's right. My bad. Not mouse pressed. My bad. We actually need to implement. Let's go to our mouse listener. Why is it starting down here? I don't get it. mouse dragged, because that's when you press and drag the mouse. Then this method here gets called. And we haven't used that yet, so we need to go to our scene methods and say public void mouse dragged. Same as before. Why? Done. Save. A lot of errors because they are not yet implemented. Add implemented method in our menu. Implemented settings. Save. Playing. Dragged. Here we go. So, and we also check so that we are, if y is above or equal to 640, we don't want to do anything, else we say change tile, Yeah. But we're still not calling this because we have yet to add code in here. We copy it, boom, there we go. And mouse drag, there we go. Now that section is added. We go to our gaming class and just double check. This will most likely work, but we will do a few more checks just to make sure that we're not doing the same thing over and over when we don't need to. So let's go playing. Let's draw another road. Why is it not working? Because when we call mouse dragged, we are not calling mouse moved. And in the mouse move is the coordinates that we get. So we go in here, instead of saying mouse X and mouse Y, we say X and Y. And if we try it now, it works. How about that? 3 lanes, all right. Can add some more water. This looks very good. And even though it may look like it's complete, we still have a few things to take care of so we don't get any weird bugs and crashes. So we say in the change tile, we check for if that tile is not equal to null. So if it's set, we check first to see if it's not null, meaning that if it's not been set or initialized, we don't do anything, we just ignore it. And so I don't know if you can see this, but if I click here and start dragging, I'm calling the change tile method every time my mouse changes position. And we're still on the same tile, so we don't actually have to rearrange the level ID array. So let's add a few checks for that by doing first we check if the selected tile is null, then we can say if. What we want to check here is that if we're still on the same tile, so last tile X equals tile X, and if you're on the same last tile Y equals tile Y, if you're still on the same, then we say no, return, get out of here. So we need to add them. Where do we have a mouse Y? Private int last tile X, last tile Y. That's not the case. Then we say last tile X equals tile X, last tile Y equals tile Y. That way we don't call this too much. You don't want to change the arrays too often without any need to. So now we enter this method. We check if the tile has been set. If it has, then we get the coordinates, and then we check if the coordinates, or rather index in the array, are the same as the last time we updated. If that's the case, then we don't do anything. We might actually change the same coordinates, but the tile has changed. So we also say, and last tile ID equals selected tile dot get ID. Because you might change we actually can put enter there. The selected tile might change, but you're still on the same tile in the playing field. So we just, probably low chance that you're gonna do that, but, and now we also check if the last ID that we changed to is equal to the current selected tile ID. If all these 3 are true, we don't do anything, but if one of them is different, then we call the function. So let's try it now. It should work the same, but with less processing power for the same job. All right, this looks much better. That's all for this update, folks. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming episode. And also follow me on Twitter if you want to talk or ask any questions about the game or coding in general. But until the next episode, where we will add more tiles and more buttons for more flexibility in the game, I wish you all to have a great day, take care now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.